The sirens hit at 11:47 on a Tuesday morning. Not a test. You know because the second one follows 6 seconds later, and then your phone buzzes with a message you've never seen before. 3 words: seek immediate shelter. Your hands are shaking, your kids are at school, and every instinct in your body screams, "Go get them!" But the roads are already locked, cars sideways on the median, people running in directions that make no sense. So you do the only thing left. You drive toward the nearest school building because someone, somewhere, once told you that schools are emergency shelters. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. They are. Technically. On paper. FEMA lists roughly 85,000 structures across the U.S. as potential emergency shelters. A huge chunk of those are public schools. Your tax dollars built them, your government approved them, and most of them would fail you in the first 72 hours of a real World War III scenario. Not because they're useless, because you were told a half-truth, and a half-truth in a war zone is just a slow way to die. But look, we're going to fix that today. We're going to tear apart the modern school building, wall by wall, room by room, and figure out what actually protects you, what kills you, and what one section of the building almost nobody thinks about that could genuinely be the difference between breathing and not. Stick around for that one. It's not where you think it is. Let's rewind. 1951. The U.S. government rolls out the Duck and Cover campaign. Bert the Turtle tells kids to crawl under their desks and cover their heads. Cute, charming, and absolutely delusional. See, the government knew, even then, that a wooden desk doesn't stop a nuclear shockwave. Internal documents from the Federal Civil Defense Administration show they understood the limitations. But the program wasn't about physics, it was about psychology. Keep the public calm. Give them something to do. A desk won't shield you from 15 million degrees, but it will stop you from panicking for about 45 seconds, and that was enough for Washington. Fast forward 75 years, most of that Cold War shelter infrastructure is gone. The yellow and black fallout shelter signs? Decorative at this point. The supply kits they stocked in school basements, the water drums, the survival crackers, pulled out decades ago. What's left is the building itself, and the building has a problem. Modern schools are built for budgets, not bunkers. Walk into any public school constructed after 1990 and look around. What do you see? Windows, lots of them. Floor to ceiling in some cases. Architects love natural light. Guess what else loves those windows? Blast pressure. A nuclear detonation 10 miles out generates an overpressure wave that turns every pane of glass into a horizontal rain of razors moving at 500 miles per hour. That cheerful, sunlit hallway becomes a kill corridor. And the walls? Most school walls are single-width cinder block. That's one layer, about 8 inches thick. Sounds solid, right? For radiation shielding, you need what's called a protection factor of at least 40. That means the shelter reduces your radiation exposure to 1/40th of what you'd get outside. A single cinder block wall gives you a protection factor of maybe 7 to 10. That's not protection, that's a suggestion. So no, sitting in a classroom will not save you. Your government listed the building as a shelter. The building disagrees. Now, before you write off every school as a concrete coffin, slow down, because there are pieces of a school that work, and this is where it gets interesting. The cafeteria. Most school cafeterias sit in the interior of the building, away from exterior walls. Some are partially below grade. They have commercial refrigeration, which means food that lasts longer than you'd think. A typical school cafeteria stocks enough provisions to feed 400 to 800 kids for a day, sometimes 2. That's not a lot, but in the first 48 hours of a nuclear event, when fallout is at its most lethal and you cannot go outside, 2 days of food is 2 days of life. And those big steel prep tables? Flip them on their sides. Instant shrapnel barriers. Not perfect, but better than drywall and motivational posters. The boiler room. This is the one I told you about. Almost nobody thinks of it. The boiler room in most schools sits in the basement or sublevel, surrounded by concrete on all sides, with minimal or zero windows, thick walls to contain the equipment, and a steel door. Protection factor in a space like that can hit 40 to 200, depending on how deep it sits. It's not comfortable. It's hot, it's loud, it smells like rust and old grease. But the physics don't care about your comfort. Mass between you and the fallout is what keeps you alive, and the boiler room has mass. I've walked through a few of these myself over the years. Every time I look at one, I'm not seeing pipes and gauges. I'm seeing walls, thick enough to cut gamma radiation by over 90%. Once you see buildings that way, you can't unsee it. And here's the piece of the equation that nobody's talking about on the news. In a WW3 scenario, the threat isn't just the blast. If you're outside the immediate kill radius, maybe 5 to 8 miles from a ground detonation, the thing hunting you is fallout, radioactive dust. It settles on every surface, it contaminates water, it irradiates your body from the outside in. And the brutal math of fallout is this. After 7 hours, radiation drops to about 1/10 of its initial level. After 49 hours, 1/100th. The 7 to 10 rule. Every 7-fold increase in time equals a 10-fold decrease in radiation. So if you can shelter in a high PF space for just 2 days, you've dodged the worst of it. 2 days in a boiler room. That's the price of living. Now, the crowd problem. And this is the part that keeps preppers up at night, because it's not about engineering, it's about people. A school building in a crisis becomes a magnet. Families flood in. Kids are already there. Teachers, staff, panicked parents from 3 neighborhoods over. Within hours, you've got 500, 800, maybe 1,000 people in a building designed for 600 on a calm Tuesday. Toilets stop working fast. Water pressure drops. Food gets raided, not rationed. Fights break out, not over ideology, but over a granola bar and a spot near the wall that feels safest. Survival isn't just about the structure, it's about what happens when 800 terrified humans are trapped inside it. If you've ever dealt with a crowd in a crisis, drop that in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how it went, because every account I've heard teaches something different. And that reality, the human one, is the actual argument against relying on a school as your shelter plan. The building might have a useful room or two, but you're sharing those rooms with chaos. Every minute you spend managing the crowd is a minute you're not managing your survival. So what's the actual play? If you're caught near a school and you have no other option, you go interior, you go low. Basement if there is one, boiler room, interior storage rooms with no windows. You stay away from the gymnasium, the auditorium, and any room with a large flat roof, because those roofs are built to code for snow load, not blast overpressure. One good pressure wave and they pancake. You seal the door with whatever you can find. Wet towels, duct tape, plastic sheeting from the art room. You're not building a bunker, you're buying time. 48 hours minimum. Bring your own water if you can. 3 liters per person per day. A school drinking fountain is connected to a municipal supply that may or may not be contaminated within hours. Don't trust it unless you have a way to test or filter. And here's the uncomfortable math that ties this whole thing together. The U.S. has roughly 130,000 K-12 schools. Russia maintains an estimated 5,580 nuclear warheads. In a full-scale exchange, not every warhead hits a city. Not every city has a school nearby, but the overlap is staggering. Most American schools sit within 30 miles of a strategic target, a military base, an infrastructure hub, a government center. That pretty brick building with the playground out front, it's inside somebody's blast radius. Maybe not the fireball, but the fallout plume, almost certainly. The generation that grew up with duck and cover was told a desk could save them. This generation is told a school is a shelter. Both are the same lie wearing different clothes. The building is not the plan. You are the plan. The building is just a tool, and like any tool, it's only useful if you know which part to grab and which part cuts you. So let me leave you with this. If World War III kicks off tomorrow and you find yourself sprinting toward a school because it's the closest thing with walls, don't stop in the hallway. Don't sit in a classroom. Don't huddle in the gym. Find the ugliest, most forgotten, most buried room in that building. The one with no windows, thick walls, and a door that actually locks. Get in. Seal it. Wait. Count the hours. Let the physics do its job. You walked into that school panicked. You walk out 2 days later, blinking in gray sunlight, alive. Not because the school saved you, because you knew which room to choose and which ones to walk past. Preparation is just knowledge that got there before the disaster did. If this video is finding you, it found you for a reason. Subscribe, because the next time the sirens go off, they won't wait for you to do your research.